The 10-minute drill.
This is a big one.
Covered by Universal Roof and Contracting. The difference is universal.
On 1010XL.
Let's go, let's go, let's go.
Hit it.
All right. You know, Dan Hicken, it's interesting whenever a team has a stalemate with a player. Like the hypocrisies and oxymorons that fly are strange to me. First things first about Jan, who went on the national media tour yesterday, acting like he's a free agent and trying to drum up interest, which I found to be comical. You have no options here other than to play for the Jaguars unless they choose to trade you, or you can sit and not make a penny. And right now, if I'm the Jags, that's the 100% the tact I'm taking.
Well, obviously, he's trying to do everything he can to ensure that they trade him.
Yeah, and that's fine. I'm not trading him, and you can sit and rot and never make another penny if you don't want to play for us. Mm-hmm. We have rights in this, too. It's a collectively bargained contractual agreement between the players and the team that if the team can't work out a long term, they can make the player play for them, but they got to overpay to do it. They got to pay him top 5 money at their position to do it. The Jags have opted to do that. That's a more than fair treatment. But what's strange to me is how certain Jaguar fans who would say and have said, well, Jan needs to get out of here. The Jaguars don't know how to do this or do that, or they pay the wrong people. So let me get this straight. You're a Jaguar fan who's siding with Jan so you can continue to make the point that they don't keep their good players.
Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying.
What would you do with Yannick Ngakoue right now if you were the Jaguars?
I don't. I'll do what's best interest of the franchise. Is what I would do.
Which what you think is?
It depends what somebody who's offering me.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. If you want to send me idiotic Jalen package like the Rams foolishly did, then I'll listen. But I'm not trading Yannick and the 9 pick to move up to 2 or 4. Or, some of these other suggestions that are out there. Never in a million years. No. And you know what, Jan? If you're so great and you want this winning culture, then be part of establishing it. It seems to me that now players griping about culture and not somewhere where losing is accepted, and the people that the Jaguars have brought in to establish that, they rebel against. Yes. If you want a winning culture, you have to have a football team that holds players' feet to the fire on issues that lead to winning, like rehab.
Yeah.
But when Tom Coughlin tried to make Dante Fowler do the minimum to have a winning locker room and winning culture, the whole team, rebelled against him.
Well, I don't think the whole team, but obviously some guys certainly did. For sure.
So you can't have it both ways. It seems to me that Tom Coughlin is the thing that they screamed for when it comes. Look, Nick Foles, they make fun of, not him, but some people make fun of Nick Foles for bringing up culture. Especially this is more cynical fans than players. Culture. Well, now here we are, Yannick Ngakoue using one of his foundations for leaving being culture.
Yeah, culture is a funny thing. Culture matters when you win. I mean, it's just the old, culture's great when you win. The Jags probably never had a great culture in that locker room, even when they won, but the winning hid the bad culture maybe. At least that's kind of what the feel you get when you talk to everybody down there. And there's a few, obviously, some guys there who were disgruntled and didn't want to be there. And so it all fell apart. And, it went sideways. And it's interesting that they've left the coach and the general manager in place to try to redo it again, which very rarely happens.
Well, it was cheap. I saw Shad's up to the 166th most wealthy person in the world. He's worth $8.8 billion. So it would make sense you wouldn't want to upgrade your football organization with making a change at the top. It's more important to save that $1.5 million, I guess, or whatever the terms would have been. So I don't even want to get started on that. There's also a danger here that fans need to understand with the Jaguars. You can't be the team that everyone that cries and wants to leave, you just let them have it.
No, that's
You can't be a team that any time a player just decides, well, you let him and you let him and you traded him. So I'll let Jan be the example. Jan is a hell of a talent.
Why can't you trade Jan and work out a deal with Clowney?
Well, I would do that. Pay him Jan's money and trade Jan, then that's different. Now I'm not worse. I'm worse if I.
What if you trade? Then you could trade Jan to the Bengals. Let him build the culture there. you know? It's just where oh, it's a mess. It's a shame. The bottom line is, I think, and again, I don't know if it's bad luck. I don't know if it's bad management. I don't know the ins and outs of the financial. Okay, but it seems like momentum is built to the Jaguars side of the Jan versus Jags thing where, you know, the Jags were right, and everybody screamed, "You're wrong, pay him." They didn't want to pay him $22 million. They didn't want to make him the highest paid. You don't want to make a defensive end who gets you 8-9 sacks a year the highest paid defensive end in football. But
no, the best defensive ends are getting twice that.
And then
man.
I heard you earlier. There's a Dan drive-in, drive-by. I thought I'd call him.
They've been you're 1 for 4 on your drive-bys. Me agreeing with you.
Drive-in, drive-by. And it's a fair point. Well, Jan sees what everybody else is getting, and he gets ticked. I get that.
Other players on the Jags are
but they didn't make Blake Bortles the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, or Nick
I think
Foles
it's the overall
highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I think
now, if you want to argue Brandon Linder, who at the time they made the highest paid center, and he's not the best center, no one thinks he is, then that's fair. I would get that one. Or Andrew Norton. And free agency is different because, as you know, you have to overpay in free agency to get the guy.
That's correct, but that doesn't mean it's smart business. Look, at the end of the day, I don't care what anyone says. They've signed Andrew Norwell, and they've won 11 games. They shouldn't have paid a guard all that money.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I don't understand. Yeah, I understand that. But I don't. Clowney's, still just 27 years old. Give him
100%.
$18
He's
million
better than
a year.
Jan. I'd rather have Clowney than Jan.
What if would Clowney take the deal they floated to Jan last year?
The problem is Clowney wants to go to a winner. He said that explicitly. So I don't know if the Jags.
And maybe they have. Maybe they've already contacted him. He said, "Nah, I'm not coming there."
Maybe.
You're 32 in the power poll.
Deservedly.
Which tells you what? You better build through the draft then, man.
Yeah.
But then when you build through the draft and you get a good player, you can't get rid of him in 3 years. And so if the Jags cave on Jan, then that perspective looks, then they say, whether they're accurate or not, and you pointed out earlier, it's not the Jags' fault that Telvin retired. It's, I guess if the Jags had given Jalen Ramsey after his second year, tens of millions of dollars, he wouldn't have pulled what he pulled. But nonetheless, he still pulled what he pulled and never got through it. So that, whoever you want to blame, I would tend to blame Jalen more than the Jags on that one. But nonetheless, followed up by Jan, then it starts to look bad.
I just don't understand this.
Then we turn around and we criticize him for signing Miles Jack to all that money.
Well, yeah,
so it's like you can't
win. I
win.
guess my point is, all that aside, the Jaguars aren't doing anything remotely unethical or unprudent or anything. They have the option of guaranteeing one player under the salary cap, under the franchise tag, and they're playing it.
Yeah.
Jan acts like they've done him dirty.
Well, he believes they did him dirty.
Well, he's wrong.
Year.
He's wrong. Jan, you're wrong. You're not right.
Yeah.
You weren't done dirty.
Well, he would tell you that he should have got more money last year.
Yeah, and I would tell him you won 6 games there, superstar.
Well, football's not about one guy. One guy doesn't sit there and win you 15 and 1.
No, and it may not.
He may sit there and say, in 2017, we won a lot of games. Okay. And a lot of those games were because of me.
I get it. But last year, if the Jags had paid Jan $20 million rather than $2 million, they would have won 6 games nonetheless. Winner Jags. You don't pay $20 million if it doesn't affect your win.
It's not winner Jags. It's loser fan because we won 6 games.
Well, point being, that doesn't have anything to do with it.
You got to pay your good players.
If you paid Jan 20, you wouldn't have won any more games.
It doesn't matter. We can do that any time. I mean, we paid, we paid Nick Foles and we won 6 games. I mean, that's not to me, that's not the issue. The issue is more of, what are we doing here with our good young players? The whole key to winning in the NFL, well, it's not true. One of the keys to winning in the NFL is draft and develop. And if you happen to get a good draft pick of value with a 3rd-round pick, then you certainly keep him. If that guy plays at the level that Jan's played, there should be some sort of common ground, which for whatever reason the two sides can't meet because they hate each other.
Well, and
that might be the problem. Why is it other teams don't seem to have these issues, But
I'm sure they do. We just don't talk about them here.
We sure don't hear much about them.
Well, I mean, the Patriots have one after another gotten rid of Jamie Collins and Chandler Jones and all these guys, and I'm sure there were backstories to it.
Yeah, but they win in winning masks.
That's correct. Winning mascot. Again, back to the original, too.
Yes.
You run a real danger if every time you have an unhappy player, he comes to you, I don't want to play here, and so you just let him go do whatever you can.
I think the Jags right now are doing the right thing.
Yeah, and it bothers me that the Players Union doesn't honor the franchise tag. That bothers
what do you mean
me.
They don't honor it? They have to honor it.
They don't honor it. They sit. He'll sit and not play. That's not helping.
Will not sit.
Well, it is possible. Did not.
And then he's Le'Veon Bell times two.
Did Clowney make it into the regular season, or was he traded before the season began? Because he was not going to play.
No, he got traded.
Before the season, probably.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm the Jags, like I said, I'm not doing anything but expecting Unique Ngakoue to be my left starting defensive end, making a whole lot of money to do it. Top 5 money at his position for a guy who is not a top 5 defensive end.
August 31st.
He's not a top 5 defensive end. No way. Go look up the defensive ends rankings.
I don't think anybody would argue that with you.
Right. Well, you're getting paid top 5 money. I don't understand what the complaint is. I really don't.
Again, though, I don't. That's kind of how things work, though. Is this? It's just what's the breaking point? I mean, kind of in business, when you do, you do well. It's like we've talked about this before. A guy works at a company, right? Mm-hmm. He has a job. He's been there 10 years, and he's making, $60,000. They bring in somebody else to do his job, and they start him at $72,000. That guy's ticked, but in a way, you should be happy because that means the salary's going up, which means it's a job that's needed. So that's a good thing.
Well, what about this? What if the guy's making $60,000?
Yeah,
and he's a position. I don't care. He's a office manager.
Yeah,
he's making $60,000.
Yeah,
and they say he says he's going to leave, and they say, well, no, you're under contract, but if you stay, we got to pay you top 5 office manager money. And you go around and you find out that number's $110,000. I think he would happily resign. That's where the difference between that's the difference between people living real life and young men in the NFL that live with monopoly.
And again,
money.
I'm just speculating here, and we'll wrap with this, but I believe that Jan is still so upset about playing for the $2 million, which was the choice that he made, that he wants it back and then some this year, and that's just not going to happen.
How about we'll give you $1 million for every running back you tackle next year? You'll make about $7 million. This is the drill. It is a CPR contracting Wednesday.
We have a winner.
Brunch with a tour and more. What do we got here?
We'll tell you when we come back.
It was a tight one. It was literally 50-50 with minutes to go.
It went down to the wire.
That and more when we return.